I, among many other people, have always held the belief that if something exists in multiple cultures, across multiple languages, multiple regions that had no communication, there must be some reality to it. An example of this is that every culture fries dough. Another example, every culture is eating meat, right? Nearly every culture is drinking some kind of milk. So there must be some goodness about it, right? Karma exists in pretty much every religion, but it's large in Buddhism, and this is a Christian principle as well. In Orthodox Christianity, there's a doctrine called logos spermatikos that pretty much goes to say that there are seeds of the word, which is the literal translation, that exist in non-Christian philosophies and religions. Karma is a great example of this. Karma is described in the Bible as reaping what you sow. Galatians 6:7 says, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, so shall he reap." What does this mean? Well, I'd like you to picture an empty plot of land, a very fertile plot of land. Whatever you plant in it, it will return tenfold whatever you've put in. So, the land doesn't care what you're putting in, whether it's good food like corn, potatoes, or bad things like nightshade and poisons. The land doesn't care. It's going to bring you 10 times whatever you put in. And this is how our lives are. If we're putting in negativity, we're going to return negativity significantly more than we put into ourselves. Because it's just how things are. Richard T. France said, "For God is a farmer, and he expects his fields and plants to produce fruit for him." Heavy emphasis on the fruit for him part of it. Not just produce fruit, because fruit could mean negative or positive. You need to produce fruit for God. And how do we do this? Well, generally speaking, this is extremely mental. The Kybalion, a Hermetic text, on page 10 says, "The all is mind, the universe is mental." The Bible also affirms your mental is extremely important. In Matthew 5:28, every teenager's favorite verse, adultery in the heart is described. It says, "So if you are to look at a woman with lust in your heart, you have already committed adultery." What does this mean? This means we could sin in our minds, right? After Jesus came, things became very much about your mental plane, your heart. Frank Stagg wrote, "Choosing not to know God, one is delivered over oneself, with the resultant breakdown of the individual and breakup of the family." Page 247 of his book, describing Romans 1:18-32. What does this mean? This means that the mental entirely affects the physical, right? Your choice not to know God, you're delivered over to yourself, right? You've sown, "I can do this myself," and you're going to reap doing it yourself, and your family and yourself are going to break down. What is the biggest way that the devil plants and waters these seeds in our life? It is fear. Fear is the negation of faith. And this is why Pastor Brett Merengue wrote, "Fear appears 501 times in the KJV Bible." God was not wasting his time telling people to write this, right? Matthew 8:26, we see how it is the negation of faith. Jesus says, "Do not be fearful, yea, of little faith." Fear and faith are on opposite ends, or else he wouldn't say those two things together, right? Don't be fearful, you're of little faith. They go hand in hand. Because truly, when you hold fear, what are you telling God? You're communicating you don't think he's strong enough. You're communicating you think there's bigger powers in the world. And this will mess up your lives, guys. It is written in Isaiah 26:3, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind stays on thee." Meaning keeping God in your heart, God will guide your heart and actions, and you will be in perfect peace. Peace is the fruits of the Spirit, guys. It's one of the fruits. It's like long-suffering, joy, happiness. These are the fruits of the Spirit, meaning you've watered good seeds when you experience these. So, I'd like you to sit and think, what seeds have you been watering in your life? There is a reason that you feel the way that you do, right? Your feelings are like your soul communicating to you how well you're doing. Because we reap what we sow in this life and after we die, right? I'd like to think you reap like a micro version of what you'll reap in heaven. So that's why the Bible talks about laying up treasures in heaven, right? Being a good guy on earth, you're going to feel happy. Can't imagine the joy that you'd feel in heaven. And it's the same thing with if you're evil. If you're evil on earth, you're going to experience depression, right? Sorrow overall, an inability to feel happy, anxiety. And I can't imagine what awaits these people in hell. That's why God wants us to produce the fruit for Him. These fruits must be for Him, right? It's not just produce fruit, because that just means do something. No, He wants you to do goodness in your mind and with your actions.